recently, over the course of the last game, PGMOL Chief Refereeing Officer Howard Webb wants
Yeah.
to reveal further in-game audio from key decisions and is aiming to make VAR more consistent. In a groundbreaking edition of Monday Night's Football, Webb joined Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville to talk through unheard audio between mic'd-up referees, their assistants, and the VAR officials during decisions made this season. Real-time audio was heard from the on-field officials, the referee, the assistant referees, and the fourth official, who made the on-field judgment. The VAR and the assistant VAR were also heard as they checked the decision. They are also assisted by a replay operator who gives the officials the angles they need to see before making those important calls as to whether or not they intervene. While the never-before-seen footage cannot change an outcome after the event, Webb hopes it can go some way to making clubs and supporters more understanding of how officials reach their decisions. I think transparency in all forms has been something that fans, managers, even club owners have been clamoring for years. And perhaps the era of VAR has proven itself to be the catalyst that has moved us closer to that particular, to realizing that particular demand from every spectator of the sport. Do you believe, Gbenga, that this is the very thing that will solve or at least reduce a lot of the issues surrounding whether a call has been gotten right? Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be 100%. But might we have less issues, less managers going off scripts during post-match interviews, criticizing referees, and even players on the pitch getting aggressive with those referees?
Even related to the reality of life, right? For a relationship to work, there has to be communication. This is one of the things that fans have been clamoring for. It's not just going to solve the whether it's the right call or it's the wrong call. It's also going to solve the problem of delay in communications. I mean, how long does it take to call an offside? How long does it take to know if there was a foul in the build-up to a goal? These things shouldn't take time. Now, when the audio comes out, we would understand the script that is being exchanged between the center referee and the VAR room. Like the audio that was released that went viral. I watched it. I saw where when the offside line was about to be picked, there was instruction of, okay, start from so defender, start from the number 6 defender, no, start from the number 24th defender. So we saw how the discussion moved from, okay, this is the farthest defender to start from. If that had happened, we wouldn't have that case of where a referee will come out and say he made a mistake drawing the line from a wrong defender. Because if you make that mistake, when the audio comes out, we would see how did you place it on the wrong defender without your assistant calling it out. So these are the things that will be picked out when there is communication. There would be proof of validation, and that's all that we need.
Now, referees are historically protected within sports. There is the respect campaign that was intended and continues to this day to be attempting to ensure that players, managers, and club owners and referees respect referees, club owners respect referees and their decisions and do not endanger them, not only verbally, but potentially physically and violently. But a lot of people, myself included, has always said, with that kind of protection, surely there must come more responsibility. This level of transparency now surely enforces greater pressure and responsibility on these referees to do better. Gbenga, it seems we have lost Gbenga there, but I know we'll come back to him.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Gbenga.
Yes, I'm here.
Could you hear the last words I said?
Sorry, please repeat the last words.
Now, I said referees are heavily protected.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I believe
Yeah.
that it must be inherently uh, upon them that they have more responsibility, that they do better than everybody else who is charged with protecting them, with not offending them, with not disrespecting them. Surely this level of transparency now will only enforce that responsibility, ensure that everything they do is done with clear mind and purpose, and certainly with the eyes of the world on them. They know they can't afford to get as many decisions as they often do wrong.
Yeah, I actually agree with you because I feel like we usually call these referees professional, and it's high time they started living up to the billing. Even in Europe, generally, you hear some say refereeing is the worst in England, refereeing is the worst in this and that, and those perception needs to change. I mean, the facts do not lie. You've come out to apologize severally over misdemeanors that are schoolboy errors, that are sackable offenses. I mean, these are offenses that if the PGMOL were serious, those referees shouldn't officiate in the English Premier League at least for the next 5 years. But you come in, you apologize, you deprive the losing team or the team that was affected of the point that was accrued to them, and we all just move on. So it's a welcome idea. Aside from the audio being released, I feel the referees themselves, it's up to them to know that eyes now are on them. You have technology aiding you. You have a referee communicating with you who have the eyes to see replays. You shouldn't be making costly mistakes even after all these things.
Recently, there was a clash between Jurgen Klopp and a certain referee, and he claimed that the referee was, for lack of a better word, disrespectful. That there was a conversation that went both ways in regards to disrespect going in both directions. Now, this audio situation, this release of audio situation, because these referees are just human beings. I refuse to believe that every time they come out and make a note and say one person was disrespectful and they were just keeping their cool. They were never the ones who were the aggressors. They were never the ones who stepped over the line. They never did something beyond what was expected. Because sometimes I feel like these referees might be sensitive on the pitch. We've seen so many times that managers get carded just because they complain on the sideline. They complain. We can see why they're complaining, and the reason they're complaining is because an abhorrent error has been made, and those errors cumulatively affect the end result of the match, which affects financial consequences. It affects financial consequences on the positions of these teams, on the positions of the manager, on the reputation of the players, and to the degree that even some players have referees keeping an eye out for them as a potential diver, even when they haven't dived. Surely the audio situation perhaps might reveal a side of referees that is more ugly than they typically reveal. Can you hear me, Gbenga? I believe we have Gboyega back on the line. Gbenga?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry for the breaking transmission. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. And before we
All
touch
right.
on this Deontay Wilder, I just want to quickly get your final thoughts on the previous story. We were talking about the audio being available. I was saying that
Yeah.
surely there's an unintended consequence that they could suffer, which is the revelation that referees do not always act in accordance to the rules. They are not gentle giants constantly being annoyed by players, constantly being tested by managers. They might end up proving to some of us that they are just as human as the players that they are supposed to referee.
I don't think there's a thin line between the adoption of technology and the exposure of officiating, because it's looking like it's going to be a witch hunt. Okay, so the referee has to be on edge, he has to be on guard, because anything he says, we'll hear it. The communication will be, I mean, automatically it just makes you tense. But aside that, before the advent of VAR, we were officiating, and we've seen good officiating without technology. Even I have seen good officiating about goal line technology, even before goal line technology came. I've seen good officiating where the linesman said the ball didn't go over the line, and after the replay, we saw the ball didn't go over the line. People use eye test over time. Technology, I felt, made us lazier. So since the advent of technology, and we can't take that back, we have to go with the times. Instead of the referee seeing it as witch hunt, instead of the fans seeing it as exposing officiating, which it should expose, we should see it as a reason why officiating should get better. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Howard was invited in the first place. We were all applauding what was going on at the MLS, where he came from. We were applauding how referees interacted with the stands, how VAR was conducted. And even when you check the stats, VAR had lesser controversies in the MLS. So that was what he was trying to bring in, less controversies.
However,
One of the ways to
unfortunately,
reduce controversies is communication.
we've seen that at the end of the day, regardless of the system in play, the people who make the calls are still just humans, and they still make bad calls that seem very obvious to the rest of us as bad calls. Surely this is the thing that is definitely going to finally solve the age-old problem of referees being impulsive, taking bad decisions that replays definitely show to the rest of us have been made in error.
I think the game we're about to watch this night, that's the Derby de la Madonina. The first leg last week, something happened. Was Simon Kier who allowed someone in the box, and on the spot, the referee gave the called back the incident. The referee went to watch and cancelled the foul, cancelled the penalty, and rescinded the yellow card. He wasn't crucified for making a mistake. However, he was applauded for realizing his mistake and correcting it. That's the whole essence of VAR. VAR is not to tell you that failure is fatal. It's to tell you that failure is normal. Are you ready to understand that you can be called back? After all, they said clear and obvious errors. You have to make error for VAR to call you back. That's the whole point. So it's not about saying it will expose failures. I feel it's about showing us that those little failures that can be caused by human errors can be fixed by the advent of technology, which we haven't seen yet. And hopefully we will begin to see with communications.